Hey, what up, guys? This is Martin here from Kodiak. Your favorite Chad is here from Poland, coming to you live. And on this particular episode right here, we're going to talk about something different. We're going to talk about something outside the box. We're going to talk about Poland. And I'm going to present you guys the 5 things that you should absolutely know before making the move here. Because I've been living here for about a year and a half now. I'm half Polish, half Norwegian, to those of you that don't know. And, I've certainly experienced a lot of things here. Some things that I was not aware of, and some things that I was kind of, used to from the past. And so, guys, I actually got this one question from one of my members on Discord. He was very much curious about Poland. He wants to make the move, but he's kind of on the fence. He hasn't really decided yet. So, without further ado, let's just get to it, guys, okay? And these are my personal points that I think every single one of you guys who's watching it from the US, Canada, or Germany, or maybe France, Spain, the UK, whatever, you should understand these 5 points. They will save you so much time and so much mental brains, really, okay? So, the very first thing that you guys should understand is that you should absolutely learn the Polish language. Unless you want to live in like a pretty big city like Warsaw, Poznan, Wrocław, or Gdańsk, or Krakow. If you want to live in a small village, you should absolutely learn Polish. You're not going to be fluent. I would actually say that Polish is arguably the hardest language in the world. For sure. Like, there's very few languages that even come remotely close to Polish. I don't think there's any. I don't think you can really come up with any. Maybe Chinese or Mandarin, but it's so far in between. But yes, mastering Polish, or maybe not mastering Polish, but you should really grasp the fundamentals of the language. It's going to save you so much time, and you're going to avoid a lot of trouble as well. Because Polish people can be a little bit quirky, they can be a little bit manipulative, especially when they see that you come from the US or you come from a foreign country or from a country that has money. They can take advantage of you. So you should really understand the basics of Polish. You're not going to be fluent. I don't think I've ever met a foreigner here who has mastered Polish 100%, or someone who's been living here for quite some time who speaks Polish at a real high level, without an accent. I don't think I've ever met one. I'm sure there might be some, but it is incredibly rare. We're talking about maybe 1 in like 100,000 foreigners that live here. So, yes, absolutely understand the Polish language. If you're living in Warsaw, you might get away with just speaking English, because you can obviously jibe and, join a somewhat of a expat community, and it's going to be a lot easier for you. You're going to spend most of your time with foreigners. Maybe if you're like a student, you're a foreign student, or maybe you want to, get your medicine degree here. Absolutely. You're not going to have to know Polish, because they're going to have, foreign classes. You're going to have foreign teachers. They're going to speak English too. Yeah. But if you really want to, really immerse yourself into the Polish community, you need to understand the language. The Polish people are going to look at you in a very different manner and way. Even if you understand a couple of Polish words or a couple of, simple phrases and sentences. Really, put some effort, put some work in, understand Polish. Thank God I don't have to learn it. I do speak a little bit with an accent when it comes to Polish, but they can forgive you if you at least try. Okay, so on to the next one. Before you're making the move, you have to understand the salaries and the Polish economy, and also pick a place where you want to live, because it's gonna, the costs of living and how expensive Poland is really depends on where you want to live. I would say, generally speaking, Poland is a pretty cheap country in comparison to Norway, the US, Canada, Australia. It's not a really cheap country, but it's still on the cheaper side of things. If you're someone like me who's been living in many countries, you've traveled around the world, you can see it quite quickly. You can spot this. It's a relatively cheap country, especially when it comes to food, traveling, public transit, even gas, it's pretty cheap. It's nothing close to let's say California, for instance, or New York City. I don't know, man, the prices there are insane. Even Norway, man, I would say Norway in comparison to Poland is at least twice to 3 times as expensive. Yes, someone might argue and say that, oh, but Norway has higher salaries. Yeah, but they have a much higher cost of living. So, that's where you guys have to really, find the sweet spot. Does it fit your current budget and how you want to live? That's really what you have to decide, and you have to pick up on this. But yes, when it comes to like salaries, I think a good salary here, if you're living by yourself, you're single, or maybe you have a girlfriend but she's not living with you, I would say 8 to 10,000 zloty a month nets. I think if you can get to that level of money, you can live a good life here. It's nothing crazy, but you can at least pay the bills and you can sleep well at night if you can get to that range. Now, if you want to make a lot of money here, if you want to make more, I think if you get to like, let's say 20 through 30 or 40 nets, you can live. You're basically like in the top 5% of Polish people if you earn that kind of salary here. Or if you go above that, bro, you're like a millionaire here. It would be like the equivalent of making, like if you're making, let's say, 20 or 30 grand a month here in Poland, that would be like making 50 grand a month in the US. Because the purchasing higher, it has to, be adjusted to the purchasing power, the costs of living, etc. But yeah, you don't need to make as much money here to live a good life. I'm telling you this. Most Polish people earn less than, I think most Polish people earn about 6,000 to 7,000 zloty per month net. So it's not that it's not so hard to get to that level. Particularly if you're someone like me, you're like an online entrepreneur, you make your money online, you take advantage of a stronger currency, you have American or Western clients. Yeah, it's a lot easier to, get above 10, 20 grand a month. Polish zloty, right? We're not talking about American dollars here. But with that being said, because it's cheaper here, it's a lot easier to get things going, in my opinion. Because you don't need as much money to have a good life here. So that's always a plus. So on to the next one. Number 3. And this is a little bit of a con when it comes to Poland, but Poland in general is heavily unappreciated. It is not given the credit that it deserves. Polish people think that Poland is gonna, get invaded by Russia. Polish people think that, Poland is gonna collapse, is gonna get squashed by the politicians. No, it's not true. It's just the Polish propaganda. But Poland, in the grand scheme of things, is an amazing country to live in. It's an amazing country to be in. Take it from someone like me who's been to many countries in the past, or guys who moved from the U.S. and they live in Warsaw, or Wrocław, or you have some Australian guys that live in Warsaw right now. And all of them say the same thing. It's amazing to live here. That's why we have a lot of American companies, especially from, San Francisco, the Bay Area. They've moved their corporations to Poland. All the big ones, because they know we have incredible workforce here. We have a lot of very talented, young and smart people that live here. But we're just not really capitalized the right way. And I think Grant Cardone said the exact same thing. He said that Polish people are amazing, they have incredible potential, but their biggest flaw is that they don't believe in themselves, or they see themselves as less in comparison to other countries. And I think he's spot on with that. And I think that mentality comes from, the Second World War era, the Soviet Union. I think this is like where we have this mindset from, especially the older Polish people, which actually... This is actually a good little point. It leads me to my next point, is that Polish people have a weird mentality, especially the older ones. Because the young guys, the young girls, when I say young, I mean people who are on the younger side, like let's say younger than 40, or sometimes maybe even up to 45, 50. But young people here are amazing. A lot of them are hardworking, they have big dreams, they have nice visions for their life. But the older Polish people, they're so, flawed. They're so, it's like they're stuck in the 90s or something. They think that Poland is still a poor country, that it's still a part of Russia, that that it's never going to be like Germany, or we're never going to grow our economy. It's complete BS, guys. And all you guys who are watching me who are Polish, who are working on yourself, and who maybe have businesses and whatever, you guys understand this point. Poland is an amazing country. It's not given the credit that it deserves. We need to give it the credit that it actually needs to have. We need to appreciate it a lot more. But actually, at the same time, if we look at the other side of the coin, that's an amazing opportunity for people like you and I who want to actually be in this country. We want to grow our business. We want to start a company, or we actually really want to start something here. We want to innovate. We're very creative. We want to start something. We want to create some enterprise value. It's an amazing opportunity. Very good. Because that means you just have less competition, because most people don't want to work. But so, especially like in comparison to other countries, particularly when it comes to entrepreneurship, I can see this from a Norwegian side of point of view. Norway, on the other hand, they actually respect entrepreneurs. Norwegians don't really have like this tense, negative, jaded vibe towards entrepreneurs. Same thing with the United States. Actually, entrepreneurs are celebrated in America because it's in their DNA. It's like this is where this whole thing comes from. The American dream, because it's appreciated, it's looked at. It's not frowned upon like what it is here. A lot of Polish people believe that if you're an entrepreneur, you have to steal. You have to steal your first million. Or if you make more money, the other man has to suffer. This is like they have a fucked up mentality. A lot of them here. They don't like, especially when it comes to money. They think they're so weird about it. They're very jaded. They're very closed off. They have this. It's like they're stuck in the 80s or something, But at least the young people, they want to take advantage of it. So that's great. So on to the next one. And this is kind of related to what I just talked about on one of my very first points, is that Poland, in the grand scheme of things, is still a cheap country. You don't need to make as much money to live a good life here. It's very safe. It's arguably, I think it's the safest country in Europe. We hadn't had a terrorist attack in the last 30 to 40 years. Even our neighbors, the Czech Republic, they actually had a terrorist attack, about a year ago, back in December. This one, young guy, he had this, mass shooting massacre back in Prague. He killed he mass assaulted 20, 30 people, students, fucking mind-blowing. Like, this guy's crazy. But it never happened in Poland. That hasn't been the case. Because us Polish people, we appreciate the country. A lot of Polish people, they're religious. And I think this is where this comes from. Because we understand values, we have certain belief systems, and we know that we shouldn't really cause any type of trouble, or we shouldn't fight each other, because this is a waste of time. It's a time waste. It's a time sink. And I think a lot of people understand this innately here in Poland, that fights and wars is not good for society. It's never good. And I think a lot of Polish people understand this, especially the older Polish people. A lot of them used to live in the Soviet Union. Some of them have lived through the World War II, but there's very few of them right now. Some of them have survived Auschwitz, and they don't want it to come back here. That's why Poland has very strict policies. They have very strict immigration laws. That's why they're actually trying to enforce and strengthen the border that we have right around, the east side near Belarus. That's why. And kudos to them, man. They're doing their work. That's so good. I love this country. I don't want it to collapse. I don't want it to get, invaded by illegal immigrants, because it's going to get fucked up. I want it to stay that way because we have a thriving economy. Poland has the greatest economy since COVID. It actually has had the highest GDP growth per capita in the last 4 or 5 years. In all Europe, lowest crime rate in Europe, lowest unemployment rate. Actually, I think we're right behind the Czech Republic, and Poland is also a very safe place. Incredibly safe. It's nothing in comparison to the United States. So, anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. And yeah, that was just like a little video that I wanted to make To you guys who are on the fence of making the move, maybe you are thinking about Poland. Is it a good place? Is it a bad place? I hope this little video gave you more clarity and more, maybe of a different angle to how you should look at things when it comes to Poland. So thank you so much for watching, and I wish you guys a beautiful day. Bye-bye.